In the last month, I've made posts about Buffy the Vampire Slayer on social media like 25 times. That's kind of embarrassing, but the more I watch Buffy, the more I want to talk about Buffy, and the more I want to get every single person on the face of the planet to watch it with me. So, I'm making this video. Why you should watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy the Vampire Slayer has been my favorite television show since I discovered it in high school, a few years after it went off the air. I've been a passionate fan ever since, but I found that in general, when I tell people of my deep love for the buff, other people don't seem to take the show very seriously. This baffles me because Buffy is consistently included on lists of the best television shows of all time and is attributed with having a lasting impact on television as a genre. In my opinion, there are two major factors that keep people from giving Buffy a real chance. The first is the production value, which admittedly was pretty low at the start of the show. Buffy premiered in 1997 as a mid-season replacement with a tiny budget, and when you watch season 1, you can tell. But things like special effects, score, makeup, and costumes only improved with time. However, if you won't settle for anything less than Game of Thrones level special effects, then sorry, you probably won't love Buffy. The second thing that turns off a lot of my friends is the sci-fi nature of the show. From an outside perspective, Buffy can seem a little campy, and at times it is. Buffy is a show about vampires and demons and witches and apocalypses, but they aren't the point of the show. A lot of the battles that Buffy faces are metaphors for our real-life demons. The show uses these metaphors to tackle issues like bad boyfriends, adoption, addiction, depression, and most famously, the idea that high school is hell. The monsters in Buffy function as a plot device. They're a tool the writers use to take the characters places, and oh, the places they go. This brings me to my next point, the characters. Buffy is not a show without weaknesses, but the characters are its greatest strength. I watch a lot of television and consume a lot of fiction in general, but I have never come across characters as wonderfully developed as these. The Scooby Gang is comprised of complex, three-dimensional, flawed characters who develop and change and interact in such organic ways that you often forget these aren't real people. The plots of Buffy may be larger than life, but the characters are grounded in reality, and there's rarely, if ever, a moment where you feel mystified or confused by a character's actions. Joss Whedon, the creator of Buffy, is known for the emotional realism that permeates his work, and Buffy is an exceptional example of this. But Buffy isn't all doom and gloom and heavy emotions. It's also the funniest TV show that I've ever watched. Buffy is at its heart a drama, but this isn't a show that's afraid to genre bend. Buffy constantly mixes comedy with tragedy, and even the darkest episodes will have a few moments that make you chuckle, if not laugh hysterically.
Have we met?
You hit me with an axe one time. Remember? Get the hell away from my daughter.
Oh. So, do you, live here in town?
Buffy's eclectic cast of characters means that the show can naturally implement a variety of comedy types, and they do. There's wit, deadpan, farce, satire, parody, situational humor, morbid jokes, puns galore, and occasionally slapstick. But my favorite element of the Buffy comedy trip has to be the utterly delightful way that the characters speak. Buffy is famous for its dialogue and the way that the characters play with language. My number one goal in life is to speak with half the wit and casual humor that the characters of Buffy do. There's one more reason to love Buffy though, and it's that this show is not afraid to take risks. Buffy drastically changes over the course of its 7 seasons, with each year having its own specific tone, theme, and character roster. Beloved characters on this show die or leave town or commit horrible acts, and the consequences of those events never go away. While sometimes these risks did not pay off, the ones that did produced some of the best episodes in television history. Hush features 27 minutes with no dialogue and is often referred to as the silent episode. The Body has an art house vibe and is the only episode of the series to go without a score or music of any kind.
Are you sure that there wasn't a lot of pain?
Absolutely. I have to lie to make you feel better.
Once More with Feeling is a musical episode that manages to be delightfully entertaining and function as a major turning point in the plot.
So, did anybody, last night, did anybody, burst into song.
And my absolute favorite episode, Restless, takes place pretty much entirely inside the character's dreams.
Buffy, are you sure you want to play there? It's a pretty big sandbox.
I'm okay. It's not coming for me yet.
Insert random disclaimer. Season 1 is admittedly rough, and I think it's most enjoyable if you already know the characters. So if Season 1 is too much for you, skip it. Go back and watch it later. The quality of Season 1 is in no way indicative of the years to follow, and while it does have its fair share of great moments, don't give up on Buffy if you can't get into Season 1. If it isn't apparent by the fact that I took the time to make this video, Buffy means a lot to me. It has given me strength to get through hard times in my life, it has taught me things about the world and myself, it is my security blanket if I'm feeling lost. Buffy the Vampire Slayer might be a 90s, occasionally campy, occasionally silly show about a girl who fights vampires, but Buffy is also the most emotionally resonant TV show that I've ever watched, and in that regard, it's truly timeless. So basically, watch Buffy, because you're seriously missing out if you don't.